Yeah, no doubt, Shane. But moving on here, let's get the thing going with let's kick it down to Starkville, Shane, where Mississippi State is not a team we've hit on here recently because they just started spring on, I want to say, Thursday, and we even had one of our followers shout, they were giving us hell. You ain't talking no Mississippi State. What the hell? When are you going to get to the Bulldogs? Well, we're here, and hey, I'm not trying to cause an issue here because I'm going to start with something a little bit negative, Shane.
Uh-oh.
I have never heard of this in my entire life covering the SEC. So prior to spring starting, I believe it was either the day or 2 days before spring started.
Yeah.
Mississippi State held their pro day down there in Starkville, and we even got video of it. We'll throw it up here on the screen if you're watching at YouTube. But Mike Leach did not show up for the Mississippi State pro day, and I have just never in my life have I heard of such a move by a coach. And I'm not sitting here saying that Mike Leach is going to boost the stock of his guys if he shows up, but it's hard for me to imagine, anytime you see Nick Saban or Kirby Smart or hell, Lane Kiffin, any of these coaches, they come to these events, they hype up their guys, they meet with, all kinds of NFL personnel. That's the whole point, is to come here, and these coaches from the NFL got questions for college head coaches, want to know about these players and their medical histories and their personalities. And I don't know. Again, if Mississippi State wins big this year, this is a complete non-issue. But trust me, brother, when we saw what just happened to Brian Harsin, if Mississippi State doesn't live up to the hype and have a good season, I think this is going to come back and haunt him. What do you think about this?
Well, I like power positive thinking, Mike, and one thing that Coach Leach is not known for is pumping people up. You know what I'm saying? He's not a hype man.
Right.
Maybe he's not the best guy to have around. And I'm not saying this is a good look. I mean, obviously you want your head coach there. He's your captain. This is the guy that has all the answers, but maybe they're too honest. You know what I'm saying? So maybe you keep some of these assistant coaches that were around, because I'm sure there was plenty of staff members there. Just the Pirate was not present. So I'm going to go spin zone here and just say, you know what, this is probably better for the kids there that Coach Leach isn't there. I mean, you got to remember, most of these guys he didn't bring to the campus.
Right. And, I dig just slightly deeper. And again, we love the Pirate. I'm not sitting here trying to bury the guy, but I reached out to someone down there that knows the program and is connected to it. Yeah. And I asked him, I was like, why didn't he go to the pro day? He couldn't give me an answer. But what he did say was that Leach he's just a different kind of guy. And he says even at practice, sometimes he doesn't even show up for the first periods of practice. And again, I'm sitting here trying to think of, maybe it's unfair to criticize, we can't compare everybody to Nick Saban, but could you imagine Nick Saban not going to practice? At least, I'm not saying he does miss all the practice, but that's what the guy told me. He misses periods of practice and this is not like this happened one time or two times. Like, this is something that happens where he just shows up midway into practice, and hell, he's a genius. He wins everywhere he goes. So I've literally never heard of this in my entire life in the SEC. A head coach not being at practice.
It's like maybe he's stuck on a Candy Crush round or something. He's like, I'm not leaving until I finish this thing. You know what I'm saying? That's what he just comes across as one of those guys. Like, I am not leaving there until this puzzle's complete, or I'll finish this crossword, or whatever it is. He's a man that finishes tasks. He may be slow to start them, but he will finish the task. But when I think of him, I mean, you remember that year they had the big fight? I mean, he's up in the stands kissing babies. You know what I'm saying? His team's imploding behind him. He's just he's doing his own thing. But that's who he is. That's what you signed up. That's what you should expect. You didn't hire him to fit your mold. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You hired Leach to change the system, to change the game, to win some freaking ball games, and that's what they've been able to do. It hasn't been pretty all the time, but I think it's definitely moving in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? I think this is going to be one of the best Mississippi State teams we've seen in many years.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted to turn the conversation, Shane, because, if you missed it, ESPN, they put out their, top returning production in the SEC. Well, they did it for the entire country, but I broke it down on the SEC level, and Mississippi State has got more returning production than any team in the conference.
Yeah.
This is a team that won at Texas A&M last year. They won at Auburn. They were, let's face it, cover your ears, Razorback fans. They were a questionable call away from winning at Auburn, at Arkansas. And then, hell, if some guys catch a damn ball in the end zone when they could have walked in to score in the Egg Bowl, who knows how that thing would have turned out. But this ain't no terrible team here. You know what I mean? This is a bowl
This ain't
team.
your Papaw's Bulldogs. You know what I'm saying? This is
2022. We got a quarterback that's tearing up the record books, and he's only been a starter for 2 years. He's got 2 more years left to play. I say all that to say this, Shane. I think Mississippi State is probably the most slept-on team in the country, and here we are. We pump up all these other SEC teams. I don't think we pump up Mississippi State enough. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think you're dead on. I think this is one of those teams that we're talking halfway through the season. Like, why didn't we spend more time discussing what Mike Leach is bringing back to Starkville? Because I'm with you. The numbers don't lie. I mean, look at the roster. You know that old saying, when you bring back bad guys, it doesn't matter. But that's not what Mississippi State had. Mississippi State had a really good team, and like you said, just a few mistakes away from being a very successful year last year. So they correct those. And the best way to correct it is just practice, and that's what these guys are going to have. So many practices under their belt. So yeah, I don't care if the Pirates showing up late. I think Mississippi State is a sleeper in the West, brother.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people got to understand about Mike Leach's system, Shane. He doesn't drastically change it. And that's not to say that it's, real simple, because otherwise everybody be doing it. But the key to it is repetitions, and having slight variations to the route tree and the passing concepts. And the more these players, these receivers and these quarterbacks have experience in this system, the better. And like I said, they were tearing up the record books in year 2. The system always gets better as it progresses, and year 3 is going to be the biggest year ever for Mike Leach and this offense down there in Starkville. They just need the defense to do their part. But like I said, we love the Pirate. We're not trying to bury him, Shane. And he reminds me a little bit of you, Cousin Shane, because he was asked about the NFL draft that's upcoming, Charles Cross.
Yeah.
Their outstanding offensive tackle. Many predict he's going to be a top 10 selection in the draft. He was asked during the first presser of spring, you going to be at the draft? Look where Coach Leach takes this question.
I don't really plan to attend the draft. I don't even know when it is. Usually I read it on my phone, but when is it anyway?
April 28th.
Are we practicing that day?
I think it ends April 26th.
Maybe. We'll see what happens.
It's in Vegas.
Yeah, I'm not a big Vegas guy. That's like being in a mall the whole time. Yeah, unless you're really into gambling, which I get bored with that. I mean, it's like being in a mall. I mean, maybe they don't have shoes and T-shirts and perfume, but they have it's just a mall that clinks a lot. So I'm not a big mall guy. It's fun for the short run, and there is great food in Vegas.
What are some of your favorite spots?
Oh, what is it? My favorite, the best place I've ever eaten is in Vegas, and there's a lot of great food in Vegas. And like I say, I'm not a huge Vegas guy. What's the one in the Golden Nugget? The advertisement used to always have that gigantic lobster.
Is that the one on Vegas Vacation?
God, it's a famous place, and it's at the Golden Nugget. Seems like Anthony's is in the middle of I can't remember. I just can't remember the name. It's really good. And then the Golden Nugget's more old school, so I kind of like that. And then I'm trying to think where the seafood buffet was, which I like that. And you destroy that and try to make sure that the casino loses money on that deal.
Vic and Anthony's, by the way.
Vic and Anthony's, very good. That's the best, restaurant I ate at. There was an Italian place, I can't think the name. There's, it might have been the Rio that had whichever one's got the seafood buffet. That was good. Okay, then there's this one, hole in the wall, not on the strip, around the corner kind of from MGM. That's this Italian restaurant that has all these pictures of, Frank Sinatra and all those type of guys. It's, you sit down and it has just a few items, and then, they always ask you, what kind of wine do you want? White or red? There's no brands. It's just white, and the food's pretty good, but the setting is pretty neat, and it's like old Vegas. Like the biggest thing I'm interested in is the Mobster Museum there, which I have not been to, but I don't know. You about got me talked into. Go to Vegas to watch Charles. Okay.
All right, Shane, so leave it to Leach. Get asked about the draft. We go to Vegas buffets. We go to mob restaurants out here in Vegas. But, I also, when I heard this, I thought of you, Cousin Shane. You been out to Vegas to any of those buffets yet?
Oh, my gosh, Mike. Let me tell you. I've only been to Vegas once, and I went when I was pretty young. I want to say like 22, something like that. Uh-huh. So I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't quite have grown-up money, you know what I'm saying? Which is probably a good idea, because I would have took all my cards out and just drained those accounts. But I will tell you this, Mike. We went out there. I had $1,200 on me, and we stayed at the Flamingo. And I went there, and we checked in. It was like 4 in the morning. It's like real early, And so we couldn't check in our room, and they're like, "Well, you just leave your bags here, and then we'll put them in your room when it's ready." And we're like, "Okay." So we hit the floor, man. It's like I said, it's 4 in the morning. I'm just waking up. I slept halfway over there, and I go up to the machine. This lady comes up and she says, "Would you like a beer?" And I was like, "Yeah, how much?" And she goes, "Are you playing?" And as I slowly got my card, I put that dollar in the machine. I was like, "I am now." And she says, "Then it's free." And she gave me a beer, and I was like, what is this magical place? I mean, I've heard stories, but I didn't know. I got to remember, I'm just a kid. So I put money in this like $20 in this machine, and I end up cashing out $40. And I'm like, man, this is gonna be the greatest weekend ever. And they're like, "You want to grab something to eat?" And we went and grabbed something to eat. And I'm going down, and they had one of these gimmick wheels. It's like they got 100 things. You could put $5 on it and spin it around. Mm-hmm. So I spun that thing around, and I won $50. And I was like, "This is what heaven looks like." You know what I'm saying? Fast forward 3 days later, man, if I didn't have a comp card to eat at the buffet, I would literally have starved to death that last day. I was broke as a joke, man. Vegas tore me a new one, man. I woke up and I was like, man, I want something to eat, And they're like, "Well, you got your card. There may be some comps on it." And I went in there. I had just enough for the buffet. And I knew that was going to be my last meal, brother. And I went all in. I never left the Flamingo. I know there's other casinos, but I was just so hooked, man. I couldn't. I'd love to go back out there now and just like kind of experience it. But I haven't been out there since then, man. Mm. Have you been out there?
Yeah, I had a wild night or two in Vegas when I was living out in Los Angeles, but yeah, I'm afraid to say what all went down when I went down there, but
it's like hangover.
Yeah,
I thought it's bad when you're talking to somebody and they're like, "You ever been in Los?" "Oh yeah, we went, we saw the Hoover Dam," and I'm like, I immediately cut them off. I'm like they can talk all they want, but this is not the conversation I want to have. I want to talk about the casinos out there. "Oh yeah, we went to a Celine Dion concert. It was great." I was like, no, we went out there to gamble. So, and I'm kind of afraid because, as you guys know, I'm a terrible gambler, and I don't expect that to change if I go to Las Vegas. So it's going to be one of those. I probably should just bring $1,200 and no debit cards or credit cards. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.